Are you frustrated with your current situation in regards to how things get done, or better yet, how things are requested of you to get done in your world? Are you frustrated about the fact that you don't have a really great place to keep everything major going on inside of your church? Well, the problem maybe is your communications workflow is just not, well, working. And that's what we're going to talk about today. How do you master your church's communication workflow? Okay. My name is Daryl Girardier. I'm with Church Communications, helping you be a better church communicator. And today we're talking about mastering workflows, your communication workflow for that matter. So what we're going to do is we're going to walk through all the processes of the two major things you got to do to turn around and make a communications workflow come together. Okay. Let's start. Let's head over to the computer and let's dive right in. All right, as I stated before, we are talking about mastering your communication workflows. So let's kind of dive right into the content and let's walk you through what it means to master your communication workflow. Here's what we're going to be covering. We're going to be covering three elements. One, we're going to be covering a workflow overview of what works and what doesn't work, a traditional method, and actually probably what your method should be. We're going to be covering a communications request form, which is one of the key components of a great workflow. And we're also going to be covering a master communications calendar. Those are the two key things, the communications request form and the master calendar, that you need to have in order to be able to pull off a really good communications workflow. So let's talk through what most of y'all's communication workflows look like. And I say most of it, I'm getting this from a lot of the conversations we've had from our audience in terms of like, hey, here's my workflow as it currently stands. Most workflows a lot of times are built like this. They start off with you get a response. In other words, the workflow of how you get work in is by the following methodology. Somebody will email you something. It's what we call our drive-by. When somebody comes by your office, says, hey, how are you doing? Hey, let's talk, yada, yada, yada. That whole drive-by scenario. Or you may get a phone call, or you may get a text message. In other words, people are giving you work they want you to do via one of these, usually these four methods: an email, a drive-by, come by your office, a phone call, or a text message. You get that request in, and then guess what happens next? You have to figure out the following. Did they give me a deadline? Who's the audience? What are we actually doing? When is it due? What's the importance? Where's it going to be delivered? The importance in terms of like how is it important to everything else that we've got going on? Is it a major thing that we want to talk about, or is it a lower level thing? In other words, does it go to the whole audience inside my church, or is it one of those things where it just goes to a small segment? And then you also got to figure out all the missing details. Like, did they give you stuff like if it's a flyer, how many copies they wanted? What size? Is it 8.5 by 11, or is it a half sheet of paper? All those details you've got to now go back and get, because they may have left it out in the email, the drive-by, the phone call, the text, etc., etc. Then once you kind of figure all those details out, which we know takes a tremendous amount of time, then you hopefully crank out some sort of finished project. And this is assuming, by the way, you have no revisions, which more than likely you're probably going to have revisions because those details of some stuff they forgot were not in the front end when you got that request from them. And we're also assuming you're going to have a finished product, assuming there's no major conflicts. In other words, ministry X wanted something and then turned around, they wanted something, and then another ministry wanted something, and all of a sudden you have two ministries that want something and they want you to promote the same thing on the same Sunday, and all of a sudden you've got two video projects, you could maybe have two messages that got to go in your bulletin. Basically, you're watching a train wreck happen right before you. So again, most processes work like this. You get a request in from some various format, some sort of way, somebody kind of hands stuff in, and then guess what? You've got to figure out the deadline, you got to figure out all these details, and then hopefully you can get a finished product done on time under the constraints that they've put on top of you. All right, so that's probably how majority of us are working. And if you're like me and if you work like that, you're going to get really frustrated really fast because you're really feeling like nothing's getting done and you feel like your world is kind of thrown in total chaos. So let's talk about how you can master your workflow so you can bring order to it. Well, here's what a workflow could look like. This is what your world could look like. It could look like this. It could look like you've built a communications request form. We're going to cover how to do that here in a second, where all the details are in the communications request form for anything they want. Everybody fills out a communications request form anytime they want you from something for you or any of the people that you work with. You've also got a master calendar. This calendar covers everything major that your church is going to be talking about over, let's say, the next 90 days. So you've got these two things right here. So this is where all your work is derived from. Because it's all spelled out so easily for you, because people filled out a form and they answered all the questions you wanted to answer, plus you knew all the big things that were coming in your major message calendar and the order of importance, guess what? You're able to easily get to work a lot faster and a lot quicker, and you're able to understand what exactly it is that you need to be working on. And when you do that, guess what? You end up with a finished product that probably is going to have minimal revisions, and you know for a fact will not have major conflict with other messages inside the church. So sounds pretty interesting, pretty fun, pretty much organized. Maybe that sounds like a dreamland to you. I don't know if that's you, but let's talk about how do we actually make this happen. All right. So let's talk about the communications request form. The communications request form. Let's talk about why you want to do this. First, you want to do it because email is not task management. You've probably heard that if you read maybe Getting Things Done by David Allen, or if you read any other productivity book, they'll tell you email is not a great way to manage your tasks. So if you're getting all your requests in for people to ask you to do stuff from your email, that's a problem. That's not a great way to manage your tasks because you can't track time. It gets lost in email. You get other things coming in that are not tasks. Before you know it, stuff that people want you to work on is buried. 2, you need a communications request form because you need to really clarify what is needed. You really need to understand on the front end as much as you can on what you need to get done. All right. So make sure you clarify as much as you can on the front end, and a communications request form can do that for you. You need a clarification on what is being delivered. Okay. So what is needed, but what is actually going to be the physical thing that's delivered, and when? When do I need it? You can clarify deadlines. Those things are really important in terms of making sure you've got enough room on your plate to get everything done. The other thing it provides is a measurement of what is being asked of you. When you have a long list of all the communication requests that are coming in one centralized place, you can go to your leadership, your church leadership, and say, hey, here's everything that's being asked of me. That gives them a good idea of how much volume of work is being done by you. That also helps you when you want to do budget, maybe ask for a raise, or maybe ask for another staff member. Having all that in one centralized place helps you do that. Here's a tip. By the way, it's more than okay once you build this form out to politely ask people to fill it out, even if they sent you an email. It happens to us all the time. People send me an email and I go, hey, I'm sorry, I still need you to fill out the form. Just be polite about it, train people, and over time, guess what? They're going to do it. Here's what a communications form is not. It's not a placeholder. What I mean by that is sometimes you'll have people fill out the form and they'll say details to come. They don't need to do that. They need to deliver the form when they got the details ready to rock and roll. And that means they got to do a little due diligence on their part. So keep that in mind. Also, it's not a contract, okay? In other words, just because you put in a request doesn't mean we're going to do it. We're going to have to weigh that against the other things we have on our plate. A lot of times people think when they fill out a form, that means you're going to do it. So you want to clarify that in terms of when if you're starting the communications request form, you want to clarify that with people on the front end so they're kind of aware that, hey, this is not a contract. Here's some essentials of the communications request form. 1, essentials are, it tells you the who's asking for it. They tell you what it is they're asking for. They're going to tell you when it's due. They're going to tell you where it needs to be delivered. And it's going to be the how. It's going to be how you're going to get it done. It's going to integrate with your project management system. So it does the who's asking for it, what are they asking for, when is it due, where do I need to deliver it, and guess what? How are we going to get it done? Because we are going to integrate it into our project management system. In this case, I'll show you an example of using Asana. So here are some of the tools you need. Today, we're going to show you these tools, and that is going to be Google Forms, free, Zapier, which is going to be, we'll use the free version of Zapier, or Zapier, depending on how you want to pronounce it. And we're going to use the free version of Asana. So all these things are free. Not a single one of these things cost you a dime to do. All right, so let's dive in. All right, so let's go first to build our form. So what you're going to do is you're going to come over here and you're going to go to Google Drive and you're going to say new form. And once you do that, you'll get a screen that looks just like this. And very easily you can build out a form. It's super simple. I built out a communications request form, already did it, but you can tell I've got a little plus sign over here. And basically I build out these questions. Super simple. Building them out. I can change what I want. So I can have the due date, type of project, name of project, your ministry. See, these are a simple form I just built out really fast by going to Google Drive. Matter of fact, let me show you real quick how I did that. I went to Google Drive, which is right here. I went to Google Drive, and you just go to New, and you go to More, and you hit Form, and you'll be able to build a form. And this will pop up. And as you can tell, I just built one out really fast. By the way, I can add additional questions right here. Again, add title descriptions. I can add images. I can add a video. I can add a section. So you can really kind of break this up. So once you build this form out, the next thing you're going to do is you got the form built. You're going to need to hit the responses button, and you're going to need to tie this to a spreadsheet. That's really important. So I've already done that. You'll hit a button over here. And when you hit this little spreadsheet button, it'll pop up and ask you, where do you want the responses to go? Okay, so I've already built that out, and I've already got all that ready to rock and roll. So again, super easy to build this form out. In other words, I hit the plus button, I can ask questions. I got multiple choice questions, check down, drop down, you name it, all that stuff right there. All right, so you can do all that super simple. I'm gonna delete that so it doesn't get stuck. There we go. Now, when you do this, you can hit the little I button over here to the right, and you will be able to see what the form looks like. So this is what my form looks like. Now, this is my form, and this is what it looks like. So let's just, for argument's sake, let's just put in a request real quick. So my name is Daryl, and let's say I am with the media ministry in my church. Maybe my project is I want a Sunday clip, a Sunday video clip, excuse me. Type of project, this is a video, short description. Goes here. We'll just say this is for social media. And we'll say I want this due on the 29th. Then I'm gonna hit submit. Bingo. All right, my response has been recorded. This will go directly to a spreadsheet. Again, go back here. I hooked this all up to a spreadsheet. Okay, as you can tell, it's clicked right here. By the way, I hit the little sign right here, and this let me link it all to a spreadsheet. And once I did that, guess what? Here's my spreadsheet. And bingo, here you go. Now you could stop here. You could say, great, I just want everything in a spreadsheet so I know all the requests that are being made of me. But I like to have everything in a project management system because I think that's a little bit better in terms of assigning tasks and doing that kind of stuff. So what we're going to do is we're now going to go to a tool called Zapier. So I've already signed into Zapier right here, zapier.com. You're going to sign up for a free account, and then you're going to come right here and you're going to hit the Make a Zap button. Okay, we're going to hit Make a Zap. And it's going to ask you to choose a trigger. A trigger is basically what's going to start the Zapier process to work. So what this is going to do, this is going to automate our Google form going to Asana. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit Google Forms right here. I've already set up my Google account, so it should say save and continue. So I want a new response in a spreadsheet. All right, I want that account. And it's going to ask me which one am I referring to? It's going to release. It says releasing the carrier pigeons. Oh, right here. This is the first thing here. Communications request sample form. So then I'm going to click on form response 1. And so spreadsheet, the worksheet, super simple. Hit continue. So it's going to fetch and continue, and it should get the latest thing that we put in there, that test one we put in there. Bingo, test was successful. Now we're going to hit continue. Now an action. Where do I want this to go? So I'm going to choose Asana. Alrighty, so I've already connected this to my Asana account. If you don't have it connected, it'll prompt you to connect it. And I want it to create a task. You can have it create a project or create a task. I'm just going to have it create a task. I'm going to say save and continue. You can see I've already connected my account. Then it's going to say workspace and organization. If you have multiple workspaces in Asana, you'll have some options. I'm just going to take it to my own personal one right there. And I'm going to assign it to a project if I want to. I can do that. There's a bunch of projects listed. I'm actually going to have this go straight to my inbox. Right there. You can also do a lot of these other things. So like if you see here, I can do name, I can do options, so I can take all my notes. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to take this form and I'm going to do this. I'm going to take the notes as the short description. When I say the name of the task, I'm going to say the name of the task is going to be, again, it's pulling all this stuff from the form I had them fill out. Name of the project was a Sunday video clip. I could even pull the due date. So let's say we pull the due date. That was the due date. Bingo, there you go. So like, again, I can pull multiple pieces of information right in here. Again, play around with this. You can really do some really interesting stuff here. I'll hit continue. And what's going to happen is it's going to do a test. We're going to hit create and continue. And we're going to hit finish. And then you want to name your Zap. So I just like to use my shorthand. I'll say this is Google Forms. So I'll use GF space 2 space AS. That's Google Forms to Asana. I'll turn my Zap on. And then once I turn it on, you'll see it'll turn on and you'll see in your dashboard and you are good to go. All right, let's go over to Asana. As you can tell, I'm already in my inbox project. And guess what? There's the task right there. Sunday video clip. Check that out. If I hit this little button over here, it tells me it's for social media. And it also, guess what? The due date's already right there, September 29th, the due date we did. So again, all that workflow flew right from this form, your Google form right here. The one they just filled out flowed all straight via from Zapier into your inbox. So bingo, all that stuff flows into one central. So now I have a centralized list of everything I've got to get done right here in one list. It's not my email. It's actually in a workspace. So I can do lots of, and of course now once I'm in Asana, I can do lots more actions. I can copy the task. I can do a whole lot of things inside of here. Get really kind of get granular in the details depending on how much I want to do that in terms of project management. So that takes care of my communications request form. All right. Now there's another part, and this is the more high level part. This is the long range planning part. And that is getting back to your communications calendar. That's the master calendar. Okay. So let's talk about this. Let's talk about the master communications calendar. Okay. Let's talk about why you're going to want one of these. All right. First, we talked about the communications request form, and now we're into the master calendar. Why do I want a master communications calendar? One, you want to centralize all your church messages. And these are the big overarching things that people want to communicate that really apply across the board to everybody. You want to centralize everything in one place. You want a clarification of expectations, specifically long-range expectations. What's being expected of you from 90 days from now? That's major, that affects everybody. Do you know that stuff's coming? Do you know what that stuff looks like? Let's get some clarification on the front end of what's coming down the pipe. You want to minimize emergency planning. When you do a major communications calendar like this, is it going to help you minimize emergencies? Because you're going to turn around and kind of lock a lot of things in place that will prevent people from adding stuff at the last minute, because you'll say, hey, this is locked down. This is ready to rock and roll. Our leadership has already agreed. This is what we're going to be talking about. We did that 90 days out. Again, you're creating a culture here on this, and this is for a lot of people. This will be a stretch. It'll be difficult to do, but if you can pull this off, again, it's going to minimize a lot of emergencies that go on inside your church. So here's some key components of a communications calendar, and they are all your channels are listed. So I want every channel communication listed in one single place. Make sure that happens. I'll show you what that means here in a second. This is for long range planning. I want to think 90 days out, bare minimum 90 days out, even further out. If I can go a year out, that'd be amazing. But I at least want 90 days out of like knowing next 3 months, here's the big things we're talking about. This calendar's got to be open to everybody. This can't be a calendar that you keep to yourself. This has got to be a calendar that everybody can look at. And here's the reason why. You want everybody to have a clear understanding of what the big things are that your church is talking about. You don't want to keep that to yourself. You want everybody to be in the loop. So if everybody has access to the calendar, they can see what are the big things we're going to be talking about from Sunday to Sunday. And you need to make sure it's up to date. It will not do you any good if that calendar is not up to date. If it falls out of date just a little bit, people won't trust it, and then all of a sudden your system falls apart. And you need to make sure it's reviewed regularly. You're looking at least once a week. Well, for us, we have a master communications calendar, and we review it every Monday morning. We walk through it Monday morning, actually, and then on Tuesday morning, we walk through it with the entire worship team, so they're aware of it too. And then once a month, our senior leadership team walks through it as well. So you have 3 different checkpoints of people looking at this thing to making sure it's up to date. Now let's get to the calendar. Now the calendar I'm going to show you, you'll be able to download and make a copy in Google Docs for free. So it's super, super simple. You'll be able to make a copy of it and go right at it. So when you pull it up, this document, this is what you're going to see. You're going to see little directions here, how to make a copy of it. So this is what it looks like. On the left-hand side here, far left, you have all of your channels. So you can see, as I said before, I've got every channel listed of everything we're doing. So that is, it's my campaign, my bulletins, my videos, my posters, social media, roadside banners, which we use, stage announcements, website ads, email ads. You can go on and on and on and on. So this is for the month of January. And then what I do at the top is I list out what the major campaigns are. So for argument's sake, we have 3 major campaigns each month. So in January, it's small group training, VBS training, and food drive. So small group promotion, VBS training, and a food drive. So I take those 3. If I know those are our big 3 major messages, then I take those and I filter them down into, say, Sunday number 1. So this is the first Sunday in January. This is my large ad in the bulletin. I have 2 large ads in the bulletin, for one for VBS, food drive, and guess what? I have another space, so I gave it to summer camp. Videos, if I'm doing video announcements, all my video announcements are listed here. So this is what we're talking about in the video, and this is what we got. If I even list out posters, we have some posters in the hallway. We know exactly what posters are going to be where. Social media, these are what I know. I'm maybe talking about Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. You can divide these up however you like. If you notice, I don't get specific by which I'm going to be on Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram, because I think what we do is we just know that day we're talking about X. So how do we talk about it on each channel? We don't get that granular in this kind of calendar, because to be honest, your leadership probably won't care about that. My roadside banner, my stage announcements, and website ads. So you can see all that stuff is listed right here, and I can go ahead and plan out the entire month. So let's say on Sunday 2, I may switch it up and I may make the food drive that large ad. So I may take that and I may make it, rotate them out and make that the large ad, and just do that all 4 Sundays. So again, what this does is I can go ahead and plan out the next 90 days of all of my major messages here, and then have a good idea for how all my ad space can be filled. Then again, when I do all this, what this allows me to do is see, a lot of times when we do stuff like this stuff is people are assuming you're working on. So what we can do with this calendar right here is I can take this calendar and use it and just drop it straight into Asana. In other words, I take these tasks and I don't even do a communications request form. I just go ahead and drop them in Asana, because people are probably assuming that some of this stuff is being taken care of. So this is kind of my fail safe, that between the communications request form and this, all that stuff is flowing in. And I've got a really good grasp of the major overarching stuff that happens in the communications calendar and the smaller tasks that come through the communications request form. So that's how the form is divided out. As you can see, there's quarter 1, quarter 2, quarter 3, and quarter 4. So I will turn around and just focus on quarter 1 right here and fill all this out. And so that will be my major calendar. Again, this is a calendar we're going to share with all of our leadership. Everybody's going to see it, etc. So there you go. All right, so let's get back here real quick. So this is what you got. You've got a communications request form. You got a master calendar. By having both of those filled out and done really well, it's going to allow you to get to work really quick, and it's going to allow you to have a finished product with minimal revisions and no conflicts. All right, hopefully that gives you a good framework of how to master your communication workflow. Hopefully you enjoyed this video. Hopefully it kind of gave you a good idea of how to make everything come together. If there's something we didn't cover, please let us know in the comment section. We read those comments daily. We feed off of that. That gives us a good idea of what's working for you and what's not working for you. If you also like this video, please share it or like it on Facebook, or subscribe if you're on YouTube. We'd really appreciate it. Thanks.